Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It was an unseasonably warm evening in Hollyoaks, the sun dipping low in the sky, casting long shadows over the village. A soft breeze rustled the trees, but it did little to cool the simmering tension that had been building for days. Frankie had known it was coming. She had seen the signs, heard the whispers, and the news spoiler pictures circulating in the village gossip groups had only confirmed what she feared. JJ, her youngest son, was at the heart of this storm. And Susan was the one stirring the pot. Frankie had tolerated Suzanne's presence in her life for years, but now, with JJ caught in the middle of something that smelled of betrayal, Frankie was ready to confront the woman who had crossed a line. The scene was set. Frankie stood at the doorway of Suzanne's house, her heart pounding in her chest. The air felt thick, like it was holding its breath, waiting for the confrontation to unfold. She knocked sharply, and the sound echoed through the quiet street. Inside, Susan was busy with a glass of wine in hand, unaware of the storm brewing outside. When she heard the knock, she froze, her fingers tightening around the stem of the glass. She knew who it was. She had been expecting Frankie. "Come in," Susan called, her voice steady but betraying a hint of anxiety. Frankie stepped into the house without waiting for an invitation, her eyes scanning the room, her gaze sharp. Susan sat on the couch, trying to appear nonchalant, but the tension between them was palpable. Frankie wasted no time. "You think you can just do whatever you want, don't you?" Frankie's voice was low, but the anger simmering beneath the surface was unmistakable. Susan raised an eyebrow, keeping her composure. "I'm not sure what you mean, Frankie." "Oh, don't play coy with me," Frankie snapped, her eyes narrowing. "I've seen the pictures. I've heard the rumors. And I know what you've been up to with my son." The mention of the pictures made Susan stiffen. She tried to keep her cool, but the shock of Frankie's accusation was evident in the way her hand trembled as she set the glass of wine down. "You're going to have to be more specific, Frankie," Susan said, her tone dripping with feigned innocence. Frankie stepped closer, her eyes locking with Susan's. "Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. JJ is not some pawn in your little games, Susan. You've been pulling him into your mess, and I won't stand for it anymore." Susan's lips curled into a sly smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Frankie, you're overreacting. JJ is a grown man. He can make his own decisions." Frankie's fists clenched at her sides. "You think this is just about JJ making decisions? This is about manipulation, Susan. This is about you trying to control him, to twist him into something he's not. You've been using him as a means to get to me, and I'm not going to let you do it any longer." Susan stood up, her face unreadable. "You're delusional, Frankie. I don't need to manipulate anyone to get what I want. But if you're implying that I've been anything but kind to JJ, then maybe you should ask him how he feels." Frankie's eyes flickered with a flash of doubt, but she quickly suppressed it. She couldn't let Susan get under her skin, not now. "I know exactly how JJ feels. He's confused, torn between loyalty to me and this twisted fantasy you fed him. You've been playing mind games with him, and I won't let it go on any longer." Susan laughed softly, her voice mocking. "Mind games? Frankie, you've been the one playing games. JJ has been under your thumb for years. Maybe it's time he realized that there's more to life than your version of reality." Frankie's anger flared, but she held her ground. "This isn't about me, Susan. This is about my son's future. And if you think for 1 second that I'm going to let you tear him apart, you're sadly mistaken." Susan's expression hardened, and for the first time, Frankie saw a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. But it was gone almost as quickly as it appeared, replaced by something darker. "You think you can protect him from the truth? You think you can shield him from the world? The truth is, Frankie, you've been keeping him in a bubble. And sooner or later, he's going to realize that there's more to life than your control." Frankie's heart skipped a beat at Susan's words. Was that what this was really about? Was Susan trying to open JJ's eyes to the world, or was she trying to destroy everything Frankie had worked so hard to build? You don't know anything about what's best for JJ, Frankie spat, her voice trembling with emotion. You don't care about him. You're using him to get back at me, to hurt me. And I won't let you. Susan stepped forward, her face mere inches from Frankie's. You're scared, Frankie. Scared that JJ is going to grow up and realize that you've been keeping him in the dark all these years. But the truth is, Frankie, he's not your little boy anymore. And soon you're going to have to face the consequences of your actions. The two women stood there, inches apart, their breaths coming in sharp, controlled gasps. The weight of their history and the unresolved tension between them hung heavy in the air. Frankie took a deep breath, willing herself to stay calm. This ends now, Suzanne. I'm not going to let you manipulate my son any longer. If you think you can tear us apart, you've got another thing coming. Suzanne's lips curled into a smirk. We'll see about that, won't we? With that, Susan turned her back on Frankie, walking toward the door. But before she left, she glanced over her shoulder. Just remember, Frankie, JJ is his own person. And if you keep trying to control him, you might just lose him for good. Frankie stood frozen, her fists still clenched, her heart racing. Suzanne's words lingered in the air, echoing in her mind like a warning. Could she really lose JJ? Would he choose Susan over her? As the door slammed behind Suzanne, Frankie's thoughts spun in a whirlwind of doubt, fear, and anger. She knew she had to act quickly. The damage Susan had done was already far-reaching, and if she didn't act fast, she could lose JJ forever. But for now, all she could do was stare at the door, her mind reeling from the confrontation. The battle for her son's heart and mind had only just begun. The next day, the morning after the confrontation, was no less intense. Frankie found herself pacing around the kitchen, her mind still racing. She had always prided herself on being a good mother, on protecting her children from harm. But now, with Susan in the picture, it felt like everything she had worked for was slipping through her fingers. As she tried to gather her thoughts, there was a knock on the door. Her stomach churned at the sound. She knew who it was before she even opened the door. JJ, she said softly, her voice almost breaking as she looked at her son standing in the doorway. He stood there, looking hesitant, his eyes avoiding hers. Mum, he said quietly before stepping inside. Frankie's heart ached as she studied him. He looked different somehow, older, more conflicted. She knew that this moment was crucial. She couldn't afford to lose him now. JJ, we need to talk, she began, her voice steady but full of emotion. I know things have been hard, but I need you to understand something. Susan isn't what she seems. She's been manipulating you, trying to turn you against me. Jay's eyes flickered with uncertainty, and Frankie's heart sank. Mum, I don't know what to believe anymore, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Frankie's breath caught in her throat. This was it. The moment she had been dreading. JJ, please, she pleaded, her voice cracking. Don't let her tear us apart. I love you and I'll do anything to protect you. JJ looked at her, his expression torn. I don't know what's right anymore, Mum. Frankie stepped forward, reaching out for him, desperate to make him understand. But as she did, she couldn't help but wonder if she was too late. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.